Before we begin, I wanted to thank you all so much for joining me in this practice. And it's nice that we were able to have a little chat before beginning this practice. Simply because this practice then reflects our real lives, where we're stepping from one stage into another. And so we had conversations, some of which were activating the mind, were stimulating the mind. We were talking about interesting things. And then we very gently transition into this practice, where you would have noticed your body's becoming still, the vessel becoming still. But perhaps the contents still stirring around. Just spend a few moments arriving in that space that you're currently at physically. That chair, that cushion, that mattress that you find yourself sitting on, resting upon. I thought a really nice way to begin today's practice would be a practice where we begin working on our immune system. And I know I use a word such as working on it, but there's really no work that needs to be done here. This is a practice where we let go. Where I'm going to guide you through different parts of the body, where we're going to experience that part of the body. We're going to explore it, and then we're going to release any tension or tightness that we may be holding within. Another way of looking at it is that we're going to surrender that part of the body to our immune system. We're going to release. I'll gently talk you into it, just so you understand what happens within our bodies. Because many years ago, I mentioned a short while ago that I often visit different teachers all around the world, and one teacher whom I visited, he told me I was very unwell. And I was very confused because physically I was in incredible condition. I was doing really well. But he kept emphasizing that I was not as well as I believed I was. And I was very confused. And I later began to realize that he was speaking about my state of mind. And I began to understand as I explored and got to know myself better that many of my worries, much of the stress that I experienced through my mind was being translated into my body. There were certain parts of my body that were very tight, that were very tense. I had digestive problems just because of the amount of worry and stress that I was putting my body through. And then I began to realize the connection between the mind and the body. And how every concern we have, every memory we hold on to from the past, every anxiety and fear that we have of the future, we somehow manage to contain it within our body, and it, over time, it begins to show itself as some physical ailment just because it pushes against the immune system. And so in this practice, we're going to gently move through the body. Some facilitators would call it a body scan, where you search and you probe and you feel your body from within. And I know we sometimes think we have very little control over our bodies. Our heart, it beats without us asking it to, without us needing to do anything consciously. Our digestive system, it's automatic. Our organs, they all function automatically. And so it's almost as though we have so little control over the body, and so all we're going to do is release intentions. As we reach a particular body part, we'll release an intention. And you can use any words you like. My vocabulary is quite limited sometimes, and so I would use words like relax, release, let go, soothe. But you could use any of those, any other words that convey. And we can also, for those of us who are more visual, we can imagine this awareness as a light. We'll call it the light of awareness. And so, as we move into this practice, let us give this light. I can see that most of you are surrounded by the daylight, and I'm assuming there are windows around you. And so, get a feel for this light, because it is energy. And let this light bathe your body, falling upon the surfaces of your body in a very undiscriminating way. Because in many ways, we use light because it does not discriminate. It falls equally everywhere, sometimes casting shadows. But nevertheless, shadows that are always moving, always changing. And so let us feel our bodies bathed in this light, and this light that contains certain qualities. The qualities that we spoke of to soothe, whatever soothing means to you, comfort. It's also infused with kindness, patience. And so whatever you may feel in your body, if you find that tightness or tension not leaving you, or perhaps you have a physical ailment, a chronic pain of some sort, and so we're just going to have patience. We're not going to expect it to disappear immediately. We're going to allow this light to bathe and soothe and relax. And you can also infuse the quality of healing into this light. all of these combine to help us understand that this practice we are embarking on is extremely relevant now more than ever before, where our immune systems are our closest allies. They will protect us from viruses, illnesses, and whatever we may already have, they will help us recover. Just by allowing our immune systems to resurface. Because it's only natural for the immune system to surface. What's unnatural is our stress, our worry. Which we so often get caught up on. And so let us begin. Let's begin by allowing this light of awareness to bathe our foreheads. So we begin by that space just above the eyebrows. And like a warm bath, like warm, comforting and soothing water or oil, allow it to bathe your forehead. And as it does bathe and reach through the skin of your forehead, you might like to release your first intention. To relax, to soothe this area and feel your skin simply loosening itself. Beginning to notice how the skin here, it connects to the skin that surrounds your scalp. And this light of awareness inching its way throughout the scalp. The skin around your scalp loosening itself, lightening itself. Almost like a warm, comfortable massage. Gently stroking your scalp into submission, into relaxation. Your ears, all the way down to the back of the neck. Also gravitating downwards into the eyebrows, the sides of the head. Bathed in this light, which a moment ago I mentioned contains all those qualities that bring comfort, soothing, relaxation. And now it gravitates inwards from the skin, penetrating the skin into the bone underneath, which makes up our skulls. And reaching into that space where the brain sits. And you might like to visualize your whole brain becoming illuminated by this light that comforts. We're releasing the need for the brain to be involved in any form of activity. At least those agendas that we normally have, so that it can just simply allow the immune system to resurface, to come back, and regain control. The intelligence within every cell within the brain, awakening and surfacing the way you would see a balloon surface from the depths of the ocean. We might have been holding this balloon underneath the surface of the water with our stress, with our worries. But now we just let go and allow the immune system to move back up, where it can dance amongst the waves, amongst the changes, amongst the world in which we live in. Releasing the need to control in any way. The brain that somehow connects to the spinal column with all its vital fluids. Imagining this light spreading from this space where the brain is into the back of the head and down the spinal column, vertebra by vertebra. Almost like a Christmas tree lighting up in stages. But in this case, working its way downwards, down the spine. Beginning to become aware of your posture, the posture that your upper body is holding. The miracle of how the whole upper body somehow manages to balance itself on the base of the spine, which rests on the pelvic bone. Notice the arch of your spine. And bring that quality to this light, which allows all the vital fluids to flow freely within the spinal column. Repairing, balancing, allowing. Most importantly, allowing. In a greater state of allowing. And now we bring our attention back to the brain, still illumined by this light of awareness. We become aware of the space between the ears, behind the eyes, and this light now growing larger and larger so that it begins to reach the inner parts of the ear, the ligaments at the back of the eyes. And as it does reach these areas, as it reaches the inner ear, where all those tiny bones sit, those tiny bones within the ear that seem to assist in deciphering the different sounds around us. Let us begin to notice the sounds around us, perhaps beginning with my voice, which is probably the loudest sound in your awareness at this moment. Sounds that seem to emanate from my vocal cords, vibrating air molecules, seeming to somehow travel through this microphone in front of me into the spaces where you are, and then entering into your ears, causing a chain reaction within those tiny bones in the ear. Sending electrical signals into your brain, which somehow begin to filter these words through your mind so that they make sense of these sounds, which is all you can hear, sounds, until they pass through the mind. The mind which has learned languages, which holds on to different memories, which projects itself into the future. And we just enjoy this whole show. And then we begin to notice the different sounds around us. I'm obviously in a different space from you. And so I have no idea what you're hearing in your own environment. Whether there's a busy road outside your window, or is it just quiet? Is there a neighbor's television or radio playing? The reason I'm directing you to these different sounds is because our sense of hearing becomes an incredible tool in this practice. A doorway, our sense of hearing, a doorway into the present moment. The stillness of this moment. What can you hear? Are there any of these sounds that are disturbing you or interrupting with your practice? If there are any sounds that you find disruptive or disturbing your practice, let us use a few moments just to turn these disturbing sounds into tools in our practice today. Tools that will help us in our practice. By simply reminding ourselves of one simple fact, that if we do find ourselves being disturbed by any of these sounds, it could simply be because we are pushing against them, resisting them, wanting this present moment to be different from the way it is. We attempt to change our relationship with these sounds by entering into a greater state of allowing. And you can do this with your mind by simply giving permission to that sound to exist. I give you permission to exist. And perhaps reminding ourselves that even our bodies are not as solid as they appear to be. Our bodies, which scientists will tell us, which scientists will remind us, are made up of nothing more than molecules and atoms with space in between them. Space which would simply allow these sounds to pass through us. Space that would simply be allowing. Let's practice this. By listening to the sound of the bell. As you hear the sound of the bell that I will ring, visualize the sound waves as you would the waves on a still pond. those little rings that appear when you drop a little pebble into the center of a still pond. See if you can visualize these sound waves traveling through your body, inviting these sound waves to travel through your body, allowing your physical form to dissolve, and inviting your atoms and your molecules that make up your body to mingle, to dance, and allow these sound waves to pass through you. And so you're looking for any pockets of tightness that you can feel within your body that are resisting these sounds from passing through. They might feel like tense muscles. They might feel like little pockets of discomfort. They might feel like jaws that are clenched, gently loosening themselves. They might feel like shoulders that gently begin to drop under the weight of your arms. Allowing your bodies to simply let go, release, step out from whatever else there is left to do. And simply be. And so in the same way, during the remainder of this practice, if you do find any sounds or disruptions around you, simply give them permission to exist and see how it changes your practice. Because many teachers call this practice the art of allowing. Simply because the more you allow, the more at peace you are with this present moment. And the more you find yourself at peace with this present moment, the more clear the solutions will be, the more clear the path ahead will become. Because until then, it seems as though there is so much fog, so much clouds, so much haze. And this practice is about allowing all of this dust to settle so that it becomes so much more clearer. And then through the wisdom, new decisions are made. And so we experienced our sense of hearing, visualizing these lights, this light of awareness bathing our inner ears, all those tiny bones which enable us to hear the bell, to hear the different sounds, to hear the sound of my voice, And now we invite this light of awareness to inch its way into that region where the eyes sit. Notice I use words that indicate that the eyes are simply sitting, resting. And so we allow them to continue resting, bathing the whole region where the eyes sit. These eyes which somehow have a pressure within them that keeps them in the shape that they hold. We want to let go, we want to release and simply allow this pressure to balance itself. The muscles behind the eyes to relax themselves. The eyelids resting upon the eyes, getting a sense of what it feels like. And then this light of awareness spreading into the whole face, covering the facial muscles. And as this happens, let's experience our faces from within. We all know what our faces look like in the mirrors, in the computers in front of us, but now we want to experience what it feels like from within. And as this light bathes the muscles within the face, we'll allow these muscles to loosen themselves, to relax themselves. And so you might feel the skin loosen, the muscles letting go, the shape of your lips, the inner part of the lip resting upon the front teeth, both in the top jaw and the lower jaw. And then that whole region within the mouth where the tongue sits, aware of that whole process whereby saliva is continuously formed, or perhaps even simply noticing the dryness of this region. The jawbone in particular, an area that we often find becoming tight when we get into one of those experiences that we would call tense. And so as the light bathes the jawbone, the cheeks, you might even sense as this loosening occurs, a very subtle smile dawning. Wearing our faces like a mask, resting upon the flesh and the bone underneath, needing to exert very little, if any, control over these muscles. And then this light gravitating downwards along with the saliva that's formed in the mouth, down the throat, where you become aware of your windpipe and the journey taken by your breath through the neck, the swallowing process, and then gently becoming aware of the muscles around the neck. Releasing an intention that this whole region be bathed in this light, that this region be relaxed, that we let go of any of the tightness we may be holding here. Perhaps simply allowing the head to balance itself on the bone. And what little energy we still exert within the muscles here. Visualizing this light, reminding ourselves of the qualities of this light which allows us to relax, this light that is incompatible with tightness, with stress, with worry, bathing the shoulders like a warm massage, feeling your whatever tightness you still have left within your shoulders loosen itself, relax itself, the shoulders dropping that few millimeters under the weight of your arms. This light inching its way down the arms, both right and left. The major muscle groups within the upper arm loosening themselves. This would be the biceps, the triceps, which somehow seem to connect into the elbow, aware of the joint within the elbow that seems to tirelessly help us carry things, write, type on computers, lift, and now we allow this light to bathe this joint, soothing, relaxing, healing. And spreading into the forearms, the wrist, the palms, and all the way down into the tips of the fingers, which we often associate with our sense of touch. And if we do associate it with our sense of touch, could it be another doorway into our present moment? What is it that your fingers are experiencing at this moment? Where are they? Do they feel dry or cool or warm? Sensations devoid of meaning again until we filter them through our mind, which has come up with these various definitions. I feel warm, I feel cool, or I can't feel anything. The weight of your hands, the weight of your palms on resting upon the surface underneath. How gravity, it somehow cradles your hands. The softness and the hardness of the flesh that you can feel underneath your skin. And then this light inching its way back into the shoulders and now gravitating downwards into the chest, bathing the chest muscles, and then bathing the muscles at the back, which somehow surround the shoulder blades, becoming aware of that bone that we call the shoulder blade. And then feeling this light penetrate deeper and deeper into this region where all those important organs rest. The beating heart, the lungs, organs within, bathed in this light of awareness. Feeling your chest muscles loosen themselves and relax themselves. Inching its way downwards, gravitating downward into the stomach region, the stomach walls, the digestive system within. All bathed in this light. Releasing the need again to do anything and simply allowing the digestive system to be this digestive system which somehow manages to extract all the nutrition from the food that we consume, aids us in sustaining the health and immune systems which we find ourselves reigniting. This light of awareness, bathing that all the muscles in the lower back which surround the spinal column, and once again becoming aware of the base of the spine resting upon the pelvic bone. Once again, allowing this light of awareness to spread upward through the spinal column, vertebra by vertebra. We've come back to the spinal column because of how important its role is in our immune system, in the bodily functions that we so incredibly manage to maintain, our movement, our breathing, all somehow connected. The nerves that allow us to experience our different sense of touch throughout the surfaces of our body, all somehow connected to the spinal column. And so we allow this light to bathe and soothe and relax and release. All our needs within this crucial part. And now this light of awareness spreading throughout the whole pelvic region and into the legs. The various vessels and arteries within the leg, the upper leg, spreading through the knee joint, the ligaments within the knees, and then into the calves, the shin, the ankles, and finally the feet, from the soles of the feet through the bones, all the tiny bones within the feet, all the way into the tips of the toes, beginning to recognize the placement of your toes in relation to each other. If they're on the ground, if they're touching the ground, then the way in which the soles of your feet make contact with that surface underneath you. And so now the whole body bathed in this light, scanning through your body and just deciding, are there still any pockets of tightness that are remaining within the body that you would like to release? Scanning, seeking, allowing, and then allowing this light to reach through to all the surfaces around your body that cover your body. But this is light, isn't it? And so light how do you contain light? And if our bodies are not as solid as we believe them to be, if they're simply atoms and molecules, would these lights not shine through? And so now we release the need to contain this light, allowing this light to once again merge into the light that a short moment ago we experienced coming through our windows, coming through the surfaces around us. And so we allow this light to merge into the space around us, expanding into the corners of your room, expanding through the furniture, which are also made of nothing more than molecules and atoms, very similar, in fact, almost identical to those contained within your own bodies. Merging, absorbing into the walls, and through the walls into the buildings around your home, your flat, wherever it is you find yourself in right now, spreading through the streets, and now taking on those qualities of light which simply have the ability to travel in a completely non-discriminating manner in all directions, reaching all objects, the people who live on your streets, the homes around you, the buildings around you, expanding into a wider and wider geographical area, perhaps covering the whole island which makes up this country we live in, expanding through the seas and the oceans to cover other continents. Is there any tightness that you would like to release that somehow are holding back this light? And if there are, invite yourself to release. Let go of that tightness. And feel yourself entering into a deeper state of allowing. This light reaching the different parts of this planet. I don't really know what you're experiencing at this moment. But whatever it is you may be experiencing, we are fortunate to be practicing together. Whether or not my words are helping you to focus in this way, it's still an opportunity to sit together, to still our bodies, to have access to this technology which enables us to practice together. To have the shelter that we do. And so there's so much to simply be grateful for. And so even if this is not the perfect practice, there's still aspects of it that allow us to appreciate where we are at this moment. And so let's spend a few moments sharing these droplets of appreciation with those around us, those around this planet who we would like to share this with. I know your mind will perhaps be with its little chatter. It might say that this is impossible. This is just wishful thinking. But just for a few moments, let us believe that this is a light that we can share, that we can, all that we experience at this moment, just for a brief moment, we are able to share with those who most need it, could use it, those who are feeling unwell. We allow this light to reach them. With an understanding that this light will bring them some form of relief, whether it's in the form of a tangible physical medicine or an alleviation of discomfort. And we believe just so that it helps us to feel better. And perhaps not completely understanding energies and their ability to impact human beings, animals, the planet. And simply for a brief moment, just hoping that it does bring some relief, some comfort. And then to those who may be feeling lonely during this period where many of us are confined into these spaces that we call our homes. Let us again assume that this light of awareness that we share brings some form of relief to those who may be experiencing loneliness. It brings a smile to their faces. The phone rings. There's a knock on the door. Something that brings them a little smile. And then, of course, there are those within refugee camps, migrant workers who may be confined to dormitories with very little in the form of entertainment, very little in the form of the internet, which will enable them to embark on practices such as this, who may be separate from their families and loved ones. We allow this light to bring some form of relief to them, some form of comfort to them, and of course their families who may be miles away. Let's assume that this practice, with this practice comes tangible results. And simply notice what it feels like to believe this. It just feels good, doesn't it? In many ways, we are touching on an aspect of this practice where we transcend our physical form and begin seeing ourselves and others, beginning to see how we all find ourselves to somehow be related and connected in some through this state of being, through this state of presence that we experience. Which is beyond the thought process, which often identifies with the body. And so we allow, we invite, allowing this light to now spread through the whole planet with all its inhabitants, its animals, all the way down to the single-celled organisms. All seeming to want nothing more than comfort, expansion, stability, just like our immune systems. This light of awareness bathing the whole planet, and now penetrating through the sky, through the atmosphere, through the clouds, into the space around the planets, the various different planets. The stars, the galaxies. Merging into the lights of the different trillions of stars. Perhaps now looking back on our minds and noticing how much smaller some of those problems we once experienced feel from this new space of awareness, this new space of perception. Some of these problems, perhaps even these challenges that we once experienced, perhaps dissolving, like knots being untied. While some of the solutions perhaps becoming more clearer from this space of awareness where wisdom, kindness, patience, and understanding is. Are there any remaining pockets of tightness that you'd like to release within your body? As we enter into the final few minutes of this practice, I'm going to ring the bell one more time, well, a few more times. And this time visualize with your mind's eye a still lake or a body of water that seems to reflect the surface above it perfectly. And so it's very still. And soon a pebble will be dropped into the middle of this pond. This pebble is going to sound like the bell I'm about to ring. And then you will feel the ripples travel through the surface of this still pond, through your body, allowing your body to enter into a deeper state of allowing. And this time we're going to allow not only the sounds, the sound of the bell, but the sensations that you're experiencing around your body. I didn't give you an opportunity to stretch your bodies today, and so there may be those additional pockets of tightness underneath your body, those points of contact underneath your body. The remaining pockets of tightness within your muscles. And then those thoughts. Have you been fighting against any thoughts? Have you been pushing against any thoughts today? Thoughts from the past, perhaps even plans that you may have for later on today, urging you to stand up and grab a pen or a computer. All those things we have to do, those chores, those duties. We're also going to allow those thoughts to exist and step into that state of observing these thoughts. And so these thoughts become like those ripples that we will see on the surface of the pond. All we're going to do now is practice allowing, observing, noticing. What are those thoughts saying? We step outside of the thoughts and listen to their chatter. Witnessing from this space of awareness that surrounds the thoughts, that surrounds the sensations that we may be experiencing within our body. That surround the sounds around you. Have you noticed the silence around every sound? Have you noticed the gaps that occasionally appear between sounds? And so we shift our attention from the sounds to these gaps. And the space around every sound. And in a moment, we will hear the sound of the final bell. And even though I use the word final, we remind ourselves that it's only the beginning. The day is going to unfold before us from moment to moment. And we began the day in a very beautiful way by tapping into the stillness, the awareness, the presence that will somehow allow us to experience this unfolding in a completely new, fresh, kind, patient, and so much more understanding way. And so the practice simply continues. We remind ourselves that in this practice there never really is a close. We'll occasionally fall back into the chatter of the mind, into the habits that we've picked up over our whole lifetime on this planet. But now with a state of awareness, reminding ourselves that we have that element of choice that will allow us to step outside of this chatter and into this new space through which we can experience this beautiful world around us. Thank you all for joining me in this practice. It looks like we've gone past an hour, but it didn't quite feel that way, I think, at least not for me.